6.7, we were short on time, so we will just jump right into this. We're going over to East Asia now. We're going to talk about a couple of different territories. First, Indonesia. We've already talked about this briefly in relation to the Dutch East India Company. Remember in the 1640s, the Dutch revolt, and the Dutch get independence. They create joint stock companies. They go to Indonesia because they are interested in spices. Again, just like we talked about with India, this is a company, not the government, not the country. In this case, the Dutch really are only interested in the economic benefit. They don't want to create Dutch settlements. They don't want to bring Dutch culture. They just care about the money that can be gained from this colony. Now, that doesn't mean, though, that there was no interaction. One example of this is that the most popular takeout food today in Amsterdam is Indonesian food. So whether they meant to or not, there is always a swapping of cultures in these empires. Okay, moving on to Indochina. Indochina is a region that includes Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos, and this was controlled by France. Remember, France was looking to create an empire because they needed to repair their reputation after the French Revolution, after Napoleon. Very differently from Indonesia, the French really do want to create French culture. They do want to show the world that French culture is valuable. So they send government representatives, they send the military, they send businesses. The businesses are interested in silk mostly, but this is all about French culture, creating little France on the other side of the globe. And one way you can see this is even in the architecture. This is an old photograph of Saigon, and the French built these wide open boulevards. This looks like it could be in a suburb of Paris. The French are creating little France somewhere else. One way to impose that French culture is by creating a French educational system. So they create schools, the young people learn French, and one of those students is Ho Chi Minh. He is Vietnamese, he goes to these French schools, and when he leaves to go to university, he has some distance and he realizes the error of this imposition of culture. That the Vietnamese people and the Cambodians and the Laotians, that they don't have freedom. So Ho Chi Minh becomes a Vietnamese freedom fighter, and his efforts will, in a way, lead to the Vietnam War. Okay, last place we're going to visit today is China. Now, China has an incredibly rich history. Chinese historians were writing down history thousands of years before Western historians. All of these dynasties and rich, rich culture. And the Chinese are incredibly proud of that. And because they are proud of their own culture and they feel fairly self-sufficient, they have no interest in interacting with other nations, especially the West. They don't want Western companies or Western countries coming into China because they are self-sufficient and they already have a very rich society. They do not need Western society. They don't need any food from the West. They don't need any agriculture. They don't need any resources because China is very large, has a wide range of climates and territories. So they are able to provide for all of their needs, even with industry. They can make their own silk, they produce their own porcelain, they can sell it to other people. They don't need anything from these Western countries. And that's very difficult for the Western countries because the Western countries want to sell to China. China has a very large population, and the European nations want to sell their goods to the Chinese. Now there's some resources that the Europeans would like, but it really more is about selling to the Chinese. All of these different European countries attempt to introduce products, but the Chinese simply aren't interested until the British find a product, something that they grow in their empire in India, and they introduce secretly opium. Opium, we said, is grown in India. Remember, part of the Indian Empire. Poppies. It is a very addictive drug, and by 1835, millions of Chinese are now addicted to opium. So you have the Chinese population demanding this product that only the British can supply. And then for this class, we did an activity on 3 major events that followed this opium addiction, and we'll pick up on those in 6.8.